The council chamber stretched wide like a metal canyon, filled with creatures from 100 different worlds. Taman stood at the center platform, his black suit simple compared to the colorful scales, feathers, and armor around him. Beside him, Jiwoo kept her hands clasped behind her back, her face showing nothing. They were the only humans in a room full of aliens who thought humanity was a joke. Veltar rose from his seat high above. His reptilian body gleamed under the bright lights, scales shifting between green and gold. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "So the humans want to join our military alliance? How amusing." His lipless mouth pulled back in what might have been a smile. Laughter rippled through the chamber. It started small, then grew louder. Creatures clicked, chirped, and roared their amusement. Taman did not move. He simply waited, his dark eyes scanning the room with the patience of a man who had survived worse than mockery. "Look at them!" Rock bellowed from his section of the chamber. The insectoid warrior was massive, his body covered in thick black armor that looked like it could stop bullets. His forearms flexed, showing muscles that could crush stone. They have no shells, no natural weapons. Their skin tears like wet paper. Another council member spoke up, a blue creature with 6 eyes. "They cannot breathe in most atmospheres without machines. They die in cold. They die in heat. They need food every few hours or they grow weak. Their bones break from simple falls," added another voice. "They have no venom, no claws, no armor," said a fourth. Veltar raised one clawed hand and the laughter died down. "Humanity, we have reviewed your petition. Your species shows promise in some areas. Your technology is adequate. Your diplomacy is acceptable, but military partnership?" He shook his massive head. "That requires strength, durability, power. Things your fragile bodies simply do not possess." Jiwoo's jaw tightened. Taman noticed but said nothing. He knew she wanted to speak, to defend their species. But this was not the time for defense, not yet. "We offer you protected species status instead," Veltar continued. "You will have a voice in council matters. You will have our protection. In exchange, you provide your technology and stay out of military affairs. This is generous, given your limitations." "Limitations," Taemin said softly. The word carried through the chamber's acoustics. "Yes," Veltar said. "Surely you understand. A human soldier cannot match a Krell warrior who can tear through steel, cannot outlast a Hrok soldier who can fight for days without rest, cannot survive the environments where real battles happen." Taemin looked up at the towering alien. For a long moment he said nothing. Then something changed in his expression. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was something colder. His lips curved into a small smile that did not reach his eyes. "You assume fragility equals weakness," Taemin said. His voice was calm, almost conversational. Perhaps a demonstration would enlighten the council. The chamber grew quiet. Veltar leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, human?" "A trial," Taemin said. "Humanity versus any 3 species this council chooses. Combat scenarios. Real conditions. If we fail, we accept protected status and never speak of military partnership again." He paused. "If we succeed, we gain full military alliance rights." The chamber erupted. Aliens spoke over each other, some laughing, some intrigued. Rock's mandibles clicked rapidly in excitement. "I accept this challenge on behalf of my warriors. We will show the galaxy what happens when soft flesh meets true strength." Veltar raised his hand again for silence. "This is unprecedented. The trial of superiority has not been invoked in 300 cycles. Then it is overdue," Jiwoo said, speaking for the first time. Her voice was sharp as broken glass. "Unless the council fears the outcome?" That did it. Veltar's eyes narrowed. "The council fears nothing, especially not from humans. Very well, we accept. 3 trials. 3 of our finest warrior species against your kind." He looked directly at Taemin. "You have 30 standard days to prepare. Choose your warriors carefully, human. This will not be a simulation. Real combat. Real danger. Real consequences." "We understand," Taemin said. "The first trial will be against Hrok's armored warriors in volcanic terrain. The second against my own people's assassins in variable environment. The third against the Krell in aquatic combat. Each trial will test different aspects of military capability." Veltar's voice took on a darker tone. "Many have died in such trials. Your people may join them." "Many have tried to kill humans before," Taemin said quietly. "We are still here." The words hung in the air. For just a moment something passed over Veltar's face. Uncertainty, perhaps. but it vanished quickly. 30 days, the reptilian leader repeated. Then we will see if human arrogance matches human ability. Council dismissed. As the chamber began to empty, Rock made his way down to the central platform. Up close, he was even more massive, towering over Taemin by at least 2 feet. His armored carapace gleamed like polished obsidian. I almost feel pity for you, human, Rock said. His voice rumbled like falling rocks. You seem intelligent. Why throw your life away on pride? Taemin looked up at the massive warrior. Tell me, Rock, have you ever been hunted? The question seemed to confuse the alien. I am the hunter. My species has no natural predators. Then you have never been truly tested, Taemin said. Humanity was hunted for millions of years. By creatures stronger than us, faster than us, better armed than us. We had nothing but our minds and our refusal to die. He stepped closer. Every human alive today comes from a long line of survivors. We are fragile, yes, but we are still here. And all those predators are either extinct or tamed. Rock's mandibles twitched. Big words. We will see if your actions match them. Yes, Taemin agreed. We will. Jiwoo waited until they were alone in the corridor leading to their ship before she spoke. That was reckless. We could have negotiated better terms. No, Taemin said. They would never respect us through negotiation. They only understand strength. So we show them strength. And if we lose? Taemin stopped walking and turned to face her. Do you know why I volunteered for this diplomatic mission, Jiwoo? She shook her head. Because I spent 6 months alone on a hostile planet after my ship crashed. The local predators hunted me every single day. They were stronger. They were faster. They had claws and teeth and venom. I had a broken arm and a survival knife. He looked at his hands. I learned something in those 6 months. The universe does not care about fair. It does not care who deserves to win. It only cares about who wants to survive more. And you think we want it more than they do, Jiwoo said. I know we do, Taemin replied. Because they have never known what it means to be prey. They have never felt the fear that makes you sharper, faster, smarter. They have never had to choose between dying and doing the impossible. His cold smile returned. They are about to learn what happens when the prey evolves into something else entirely. Jiwoo studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded. 30 days. We better make them count. We will, Taemin said. Send word to Earth, tell them to send us their best. Not their strongest. Not their fastest. Their most stubborn. The ones who refuse to quit even when they should. As they walked toward their ship, Taemin allowed himself one look back at the council station. Somewhere in there, aliens were laughing about the foolish humans who chose death over submission. Let them laugh, he thought. They would not be laughing for long. The orbital station called Resilience hung in space like a steel flower, its petals slowly rotating around Earth's moon. Inside the main training bay, Taemin watched 12 humans run through obstacle courses designed to break them. They did not break. Again, Donghyun barked. The old Marine commander had scars running down the left side of his face, souvenirs from the colony wars. His voice could strip paint from walls. Faster this time. The Rock won't wait for you to catch your breath. The 12 warriors repeated the course. They climbed, jumped, crawled, and fought through scenarios that simulated alien combat. Taemin noted each one's strengths. Sangmi could hit a target from distances that seemed impossible. Hyunsuk moved through water like he was born in it. Minji could patch wounds while under fire without hesitation. Bora could make explosives from almost anything. Jiwoo appeared beside him holding a datapad. Earth's response came in. They think we are crazy. They are not wrong, Taemin said. But they are sending supplies anyway. New equipment. Medical gear. Everything we requested, she paused. Also, every major news network wants interviews. Humanity is watching. Let them watch, Taemin said. Better they see this than hear about our failure secondhand. Across the bay, Haiwan was conducting what she called psychological preparation. The combat psychologist sat with groups of warriors, showing them footage of their alien opponents. Not just how they fought, but how they thought. Taemin joined her session. On the screen, a Rock warrior demolished a concrete barrier with his bare fists. They are strong, Haiwan said to the group. But notice what they do not do. They do not dodge. They do not retreat. Their armor makes them confident. Overconfident. She changed the footage. Watch this one. He charges straight ahead. No tactics, no strategy, just raw power. So we use their confidence against them, Sungmi said. Exactly, Haewon replied. They have never needed to be clever because they have never been weak. We have always been weak. So we learned to be smart. June entered the bay carrying a large case. The young engineer looked tired but excited. I have something to show you. He opened the case to reveal modified combat gear. It looked simple at first glance, but Taemin saw the details. Better cooling systems, reinforced joints, sealed environmental controls. This won't make you stronger than them, June explained. But it will let you fight longer. Stay cooler in heat, warmer in cold. The suit regulates your body temperature so you can operate in environments that would cook or freeze regular soldiers. How long can we operate in volcanic conditions? Taemin asked. Tests show at least 48 hours of continuous activity, June said. Maybe more if you pace yourselves. Donghyun whistled low. And the Hrok? Their armor is thick. Great for protection, terrible for heat dispersion. In volcanic terrain, they will overheat in maybe 12 hours of hard activity. June grinned. We might be fragile, but we evolved the best cooling system in the galaxy. Sweat. That evening, Jiwoo gathered everyone for a briefing. She projected images of Earth onto the main screen. Not the pretty parts, the harsh parts. Deserts where temperatures could kill, frozen tundra where nothing should survive, deep oceans with crushing pressure. Humans live in all of these places, she said. No other species has such range. The Hrok need specific temperature ranges. The Krell cannot survive away from water for long. Feltar's people die in cold climates. She looked at each warrior. We are the only species that evolved to live almost anywhere. Because Earth tried very hard to kill us and we refused to die. She brought up another image. A human skeleton next to a Hrok's armored frame. They look at this and see weakness. Soft bones, no armor, fragile. She smiled. But look closer. Our bones break, yes. They also heal. Their armor is permanent. If it cracks, they are crippled. We break and repair. We break and come back stronger. Taemin stepped forward. Jiwoo has been researching something important. I asked her to find out what makes humans different from every other species in the galaxy. Jiwoo nodded. Persistence hunting. Earth is the only known planet where predators evolved to chase prey over long distances. Most predators are ambush hunters. Quick kills. But human ancestors could not do that. We were too slow, too weak. So we learned to run. Not fast, but forever. She showed footage of a human hunter chasing an antelope across African plains. The antelope is faster, stronger, but after 6 hours of constant pursuit, it collapses from exhaustion. The human is still running. The Hrok are sprinters, Taemin added. They can charge fast and hit hard. But they cannot maintain that for hours. We can. We were built to outlast our prey. Donghyun began the real training after that. He taught them to fight in ways that felt wrong to humans, to run away, to hide, to avoid direct confrontation. Every instinct will tell you to stand and fight, he said. Ignore those instincts. Let them chase. Let them waste energy. Save yours. When they are tired and frustrated, that is when we strike. The warriors practiced hit-and-run tactics, quick attacks followed by rapid retreats. They learned to use terrain as a weapon, to set traps, to make their enemies come to them on ground of their choosing. One night, Taemin found Haewon in the observation deck staring at Earth below. Can we actually do this? She asked quietly. Honestly, I do not know, Taemin said. But I know we have advantages they do not see. Like what? Fear, Taemin said. They have never been truly afraid. When you have never been prey, you do not understand desperation. You do not know what you are capable of when death is chasing you. He looked at his reflection in the glass. Humans know that feeling in our bones. It made us creative, adaptable, unstoppable. Is that what happened on the planet where you crashed? Haewon asked. Taemin was quiet for a moment. I was hunted by something called a razor cat, 3 meters tall, claws like knives. It was faster than me, stronger than me, better armed than me, but it had never been hungry enough to chase prey for days without stopping. I had. He touched the window. On the 4th day, it gave up and looked for easier prey. I did not give up. I tracked it back to its den and killed it with a sharpened stick. You hunted your hunter, Haewon said. Yes, because I was more afraid of starving than I was of dying in a fight. Taemin turned to face her. That is what we teach the team. We teach them that humans are dangerous not because we are strong, but because we are desperate enough to do what others will not. The next day, Jiwoo received the official notice. The trials would begin in 1 week. The location was confirmed. Crucible 7, a volcanic planet with conditions that would test even the hardiest species. Taemin gathered everyone together one final time before they departed. "I will not lie to you," he said. "Some of us might not come back. The council approved lethal force for these trials. They expect us to die." He looked at each face. "But I need you to understand something. We are not going there to survive. We are going there to win." Donghyun stepped beside him. "The galaxy sees humans as weak, fragile, easy prey. Let them think that. Let them underestimate us. Because when the prey shows teeth, the predator does not know how to respond. Remember your training," Jiwoo added. "Do not fight their fight. Make them fight ours. Long, exhausting, frustrating. We win by refusing to quit." As they boarded the transport ship, June distributed the modified gear. Each warrior checked their equipment with quiet efficiency. There was no bravado, no false confidence, just professionals preparing for the hardest fight of their lives. Taemin took his seat and closed his eyes. He thought about Earth, about the millions of years of ancestors who survived ice ages, volcanic winters, predators, plagues, and countless other disasters. Every human carried that legacy in their genes. The ability to endure, to adapt, to survive. The ship lifted off, carrying 12 humans toward a trial designed to prove they were too fragile to fight. Taemin smiled his cold smile. They would prove something, all right? Just not what the council expected. Crucible 7 was exactly as terrible as promised. The volcanic planet glowed red beneath a toxic yellow sky. Rivers of lava carved through black rock like veins of fire. The air shimmered with heat that could melt unprotected skin. Geysers of sulfuric gas erupted randomly from cracks in the ground. Taemin stood at the edge of the designated combat zone and watched HFY warriors arrive. There were 20 of them, each one massive and armored. They marched in formation, their heavy footsteps making the ground shake. They looked invincible. The human team numbered 12. They looked small in comparison. Fragile. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched on live feeds. The betting markets favored the HFY warriors at 98-2. Most expected the humans to surrender before actual combat began. Some expected human casualties within the first hour. HFY himself stood at a viewing platform carved into a distant mountain. His voice boomed across the battlefield through speakers. "Humans, you may surrender now with honor. No shame exists in acknowledging superior strength." Taemin activated his communicator so his words carried to every viewer. "We did not come here to surrender. Begin when ready." A horn sounded. The trial had started. The HFY warriors charged immediately. They moved fast for creatures their size, their armored bodies gleaming in the volcanic light. They expected the humans to either run in panic or make a defensive stand. The humans did neither. Instead, they scattered like smoke and wind. Within seconds, all 12 had disappeared into the rocky terrain. The volcanic landscape was full of caves, crevices, and unstable ground. The humans knew every inch of it. They had studied maps for weeks. The HFY warriors stopped confused. Their leader, a massive fighter named Grok, bellowed orders. "Spread out, find them. Flush them from hiding." The warriors split into groups and began searching. Hours passed. The volcanic sun beat down. The temperature climbed. The HFY armor, so good at stopping weapons, was terrible at releasing heat. Sang-mi watched from a position 2 kilometers away. She had spent 3 days finding this exact spot. From here, she could see most of the battlefield. Her rifle was custom-made, designed for extreme long-range work. She breathed slowly, letting her heart rate settle. She squeezed the trigger. The shot traveled across the distance and struck a HFY warrior in the joint where his arm connected to his body. The armor had a weak point there, a necessity for movement. The warrior roared in pain and surprise. Before his companions could react, Sang-mi had moved. The sound took time to travel. By the time they looked toward where she had been, she was already 300 meters away in a different position. "Contact!" Grok snarled into his communicator. "Northeast quadrant. All units converge." The warriors rushed toward where they thought the shot came from. They found nothing. Donghyun watched the HFY warriors from a cave entrance. He counted them. 8 heading toward Sang-mi's last position. Good. Predictable. He signaled his team. The ground beneath the warriors suddenly collapsed. It was not a natural occurrence. Bora had spent hours weakening the volcanic rock, turning solid ground into a trap. 4 warriors fell into a sulfuric gas pocket. They would not die, but they would be too busy choking and climbing out to fight. The remaining 4 warriors stopped, suddenly cautious. That hesitation cost them. Minji's team hit them from behind with flash charges, not enough to seriously hurt them through their armor, but enough to disorient. While they were confused, the humans disappeared again. 8 hours into the battle, no human had been touched. 3 Rock warriors were injured. More importantly, all of them were getting tired. Grok could not understand it. His warriors were superior in every way, stronger, better armored, more experienced. Yet they were fighting ghosts. Every time they thought they had the humans cornered, their prey vanished. Every time they pursued, they ran into traps or ambushes. "Stand and fight!" he roared at the empty landscape. "Face us with honor." From a hidden position, Taman smiled. Honor was for species that could afford it. Survival required different tactics. The volcanic day turned to night, but the temperature barely dropped. If anything, it got worse. The ground radiated stored heat. The Rock warriors had been in constant motion for 12 hours, wearing their thick armor in an oven. Hyunsuk initiated the next phase. His team had positioned themselves near lava flows. When Rock warriors approached, they fired weapons that sounded loud but did little real damage. The warriors charged toward the sound, angry and overheated. The humans led them on a chase through the hottest parts of the battlefield, near lava rivers, across thermal vents, through areas where the temperature reached levels that would cook flesh if not for the cooling suits June had designed. The Rock armor protected them from weapons but turned them into walking ovens. Their bodies, evolved for strength, not heat dispersion, began to fail. Warriors slowed down. Their movements became sluggish. "They are cooking themselves," Jiwoo observed from her command position. She monitored each Rock warrior's heat signature. Another few hours and they will start dropping. 24 hours into the trial, the first Rock warrior collapsed. Not from injury, from heat exhaustion. His body simply could not handle the combination of extreme temperature, heavy armor, and constant exertion. Then another fell, and another. Grok realized with growing horror what was happening. The humans were not trying to hurt his warriors. They were trying to outlast them. And it was working. "Regroup," he ordered. "Defensive formation. Conserve energy." But the humans did not allow that. Every time the warriors tried to rest, something would happen. A distant shot. An explosion. The sound of movement nearby. Just enough to keep them alert, active, burning energy. 36 hours in, Taman decided it was time to end it. The Rock warriors were exhausted, overheated, and demoralized. Half of them could barely stand. Now the humans would show why desperation made them dangerous. The 12 humans emerged from hiding simultaneously. They did not attack the strong warriors. They focused on the weakest, the ones barely conscious from heat and exhaustion. Quick strikes to joints, to weak points in armor. Nothing lethal, but enough to incapacitate. Grok tried to organize a defense, but his warriors were too tired. They swung their weapons in slow, predictable arcs. The humans dodged easily and countered with precise attacks. Within an hour, 15 Rock warriors were down. Not dead, but unable to continue fighting. Grok stood among his few remaining warriors and realized the impossible had happened. They were losing. Taman approached the exhausted Rock commander. The human showed no signs of the 36-hour battle. His cooling suit had kept his body temperature stable. His training had prepared him for exactly this kind of endurance test. "Surrender," Taman said simply. "Your warriors need medical attention." Grok looked at the small, fragile human, at the being his people had mocked as weak and soft. This creature had just defeated 20 armored warriors through tactics, patience, and sheer refusal to quit. "How?" Grok asked. "We are stronger, better armed, superior in every way." "Your armor protected you from our weapons," Taman replied. "It could not protect you from yourselves. You evolved for strength. We evolved for endurance. In a short fight, you win. In a long fight, we do." He extended a container of water. "Drink, your body needs it." Grok took the water with shaking hands. The gesture, offering aid to a defeated enemy, confused him more than the loss. Across the galaxy, billions of viewers sat in stunned silence. The feed showed exhausted Rock warriors being tended by the humans they had tried to defeat. It showed Sangmi helping an injured warrior to shade. It showed Minji treating heat exhaustion in enemies who had wanted to crush her. On the viewing platform, Hrock watched his defeated warriors and felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. His people were the strongest in the galaxy. Everyone knew that. Yet these fragile humans had beaten them without even trying to kill them. Veltar stood beside him, his reptilian features unreadable. "The trial is not over," he said quietly. "My assassins await." "Your assassins will fail too," Hrock said with certainty he did not feel. "Perhaps," Veltar replied. "Or perhaps the humans simply got lucky." Down on the battlefield, Jiwoo stood beside Taemin as they watched medical shuttles evacuate the Hrock warriors. "First trial complete," she said. "That was the easy one." "I know," Taemin said. He looked at his team. They were tired but operational. Exactly as planned. The Hrock fight with strength and honor. Veltar's assassins will fight with stealth and poison. Different challenge. Can we beat them? Taemin thought about his time being hunted on that hostile planet, about learning to sleep with one eye open, about checking every shadow for death. "Yes," he said, "because we have something they do not." "What?" "Experience being prey." His cold smile returned. "And prey that survives learns to become the predator." The council changed the rules overnight. Jiwoo read the message 3 times, her anger growing with each word. "They are combining the last 2 trials. We face Veltar's assassins and the Krell warriors at the same time." Taemin studied the new battlefield map. Crucible 7's coastal region. Volcanic rock met dark ocean. Caves filled with water. Tide pools. Unstable cliffs. It was designed to favor both the aquatic Krell and the stealthy assassins. "They are afraid," Donghyun said. "We embarrassed the Hrock. Now the council wants to ensure we fail." "Let them stack the deck," Taemin replied. "It changes nothing." But it changed everything, and they all knew it. Fighting one elite force was manageable. Fighting 2 simultaneously meant divided attention, greater risk and less room for error. The team had 6 hours to rest before the second trial began. Minji checked everyone for injuries from the first fight. Minor burns, dehydration, muscle strain. Nothing serious. She distributed medicine and made everyone drink electrolyte solutions. "The assassins use venom," Haewon briefed them. "Fast-acting paralytic toxins. One scratch and you are down within minutes. They are trained to kill with single strikes." "So we do not get scratched?" Sangmi said. "Not that simple," Haewon continued. "They also use ranged venom darts. They can strike from darkness. They are patient. Some assassin kills have taken weeks of stalking." "We do not have weeks," Jiwoo said. "Trial rules require resolution within 72 hours. June had new equipment. Thicker suits with sealed joints. The venom cannot penetrate this material. But watch your face. Helmets have filters but are not perfect." He distributed small injectors. "Antivenin. If you get poisoned, jam this into your thigh immediately. It will not cure you, but it will slow the venom long enough for Minji to treat you properly." Hyunsuk studied the ocean data. Krell can hold their breath for hours. They are stronger in water than on land. The ocean is their territory. "Then we do not fight them in the ocean," Taemin said. "We use the coastline. Shallow water. Rocky areas where their size works against them." The second trial began at nightfall. Tactical disadvantage for humans. Perfect conditions for assassins. The team moved in tight formation through coastal caves. Bora had rigged motion sensors every 20 meters. Not to stop the enemy, but to know when they were coming. The first attack came silently. A dart whistled through darkness and struck Donghyun's shoulder. The thick suit stopped it, but the impact made him grunt. "Contact," he whispered into his communicator. "Northeast, approximately 50 meters. The team did not run. They did not panic. They shifted formation, covering angles, watching shadows. This was what they had trained for. Sangmi spotted movement in the rocks above. She fired 3 times. The shots illuminated the darkness briefly. She saw a scaled form dodge behind cover. Fast. Inhumanly fast. "They are testing us," Taemin said. "Probing our defenses. Do not waste ammunition on shadows." Another dart came from a different direction. Then another. The assassins were trying to surround them, attacking from multiple angles to create confusion. "Flares," Jiwoo ordered. Bora launched a series of bright flares into the air. The coastal area lit up like daylight. The assassins hissed in anger and retreated into deeper shadows. They were ambush predators. They hated light. "Keep moving," Taemin said. "Do not give them stationary targets. They advanced toward the water, maintaining formation, watching every shadow. The flares burned for 5 minutes before dying. Darkness returned. That was when the Krell attacked. The ocean erupted. Massive shapes surged from the water. The Krell were enormous, 3 times human size, covered in thick scales and corded muscle. They moved awkwardly on land but were still terrifyingly strong. Hyun-suk's team met them with explosives. Not to kill, but to control. Charges detonated in shallow water, creating artificial waves that knocked the Krell off balance. More explosives went off on the beach, creating craters and obstacles. One Krell grabbed at Bo-Ra with massive claws. She rolled under its reach and planted a charge on its leg. The explosion 3 seconds later did not seriously hurt the creature, but it damaged the leg enough to slow it down. They are trying to drive us toward the assassins, Jiwoo realized. The Krell were herding them toward the rocky areas where the assassins waited in ambush. Then we go up, Taemin said. He pointed to the volcanic cliffs rising above the beach. The team scrambled up the rocks. The Krell could not follow effectively. Their bodies were built for water, not climbing. The assassins could climb, but doing so made them visible, vulnerable. From the higher ground, Sang-mi had clear shots. She began targeting the Krell in the water, not killing shots but hits to joints and weak points. Each shot made the massive creatures think twice about approaching. The assassins responded by attacking from the cliff sides. They climbed silently, using darkness as cover. But Minji had prepared for this. She had modified medical scanners to detect body heat. The assassins were cold-blooded but not perfectly cold. She called out positions. 3 meters left. 1 moving right. Behind that boulder. Her warnings gave the team precious seconds to respond. Every time an assassin got close, concentrated fire drove it back. Hours passed. The fighting continued in bursts. Attack, retreat, reposition. The assassins grew frustrated. They were used to patient stalking, picking off isolated targets. This tight defensive formation gave them no openings. Then one of the assassins made a mistake. It got impatient and rushed Taemin from close range. Its claws, dripping with venom, reached for his throat. Taemin had been waiting for exactly this. He dropped low, letting the claws pass over him. His own blade, not poisoned but sharp, cut across the assassin's unarmored abdomen, not deep enough to kill but enough to hurt. The assassin recoiled, shocked. It had been cut. It, the predator, had been wounded by prey. Taemin did not pursue. He simply returned to formation, his expression cold. "They can bleed," he said into the communicator. "Remember that." The psychological impact was immediate. The assassins became more cautious. They had thought themselves untouchable. Now they knew humans could hurt them. Dawn came slowly. The light revealed a battlefield littered with spent ammunition, blast craters and blood, both human and alien. Minji worked frantically on Hyun-suk. He had been grazed by a venom dart. The anti-venom had slowed the poison, but he was paralyzed from the waist down. She administered a second dose and began running a blood filtration process. "Will he live?" Jiwoo asked. "Yes," Minji said without looking up. "But he is done fighting for this trial." That left 11 combat-effective humans against 15 assassins and 12 Krell warriors. "We need to change tactics," Donghyun said. "We cannot maintain this defensive posture forever." "Agreed," Taemin said. He looked at the ocean, then at the caves behind them. An idea formed, dangerous, possibly stupid, definitely desperate. "We split their forces," he said. "Half of us draw the Krell into the caves. The other half hunts the assassins." "That violates every tactical principle," Jiwoo protested. "Never divide your force." "Conventional tactics do not work here," Taemin replied. "The enemy expects us to stay defensive. We go offensive instead." Bo-Ra grinned. "I like it." "What is the worst that could happen?" "We all die," Donghyun said flatly. "Besides that, they split up." Taemin led 5 fighters into the volcanic caves. They made noise, left obvious tracks, practically invited pursuit. The Krell, frustrated by the long-range harassment, took the bait. The massive creatures squeezed into the caves, confident in their strength. They did not notice the structural weaknesses Bo-Ra had identified, or the explosive charges she had planted. When half the Krell force was deep in the cave system, Bo-Ra triggered the charges. Not enough to collapse everything, but enough to create narrow passages, bottlenecks where size became a liability. The Krell found themselves trapped in spaces too small to maneuver. The humans, smaller and more flexible, moved around them easily. They attacked joints, weak points, using the confined space to neutralize the Krell's strength advantage. Outside, Jiwoo led the hunt for assassins. She did something the assassins never expected. She used their own tactics against them. Her team scattered. Each human found a hiding spot and went silent. Perfectly still, perfectly quiet. They became invisible. The assassins, used to being the hunters, found themselves searching for prey that had vanished. They grew careless, exposing themselves while looking for humans. Sangmi took the first one. A perfect shot from concealment. The assassin went down. Then another. And another. The remaining assassins realized with growing dread that they were being hunted. The prey had become predators. Veltar watched the feeds from his command ship. His assassins, his pride, were losing. Not through bad luck. Through being outthought and outfought. Impossible, he whispered. But it was happening. By the time the sun reached its peak, the trial was over. The Krell had surrendered after being trapped and systematically disabled in the caves. The assassins had withdrawn after losing more than half their number. The humans stood victorious, exhausted, injured, but victorious. Taemin looked at the cameras broadcasting across the galaxy. 2 trials complete. We await your judgment, Council. The council chamber felt different this time. The laughter was gone. The mockery had died. In its place hung something uncomfortable. Uncertainty. Taemin and his team stood at the center platform again. They looked worse than before. Bandages covered wounds. Hyunsuk sat in a wheelchair, still recovering from the venom. Minji had dark circles under her eyes from 72 hours of continuous medical work. But they stood straight, unbowed. Veltar rose slowly. His scales had lost some of their shimmer. He looked older somehow. The council has reviewed the trial outcomes. Against all expectations, humanity has succeeded in both trials. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, not hostile this time, more confused, worried. Rock stood as well. The massive warrior's voice was quieter than before. I watched my finest warriors fall to exhaustion against an enemy they could have crushed in direct combat. I do not understand how this is possible. We would like an explanation, Veltar said, looking directly at Taemin. Your species should not have won. By every measure of strength, armor, natural weaponry, and combat capability, you were inferior. Yet you won. How? Jiwoo stepped forward. She carried a data pad and projected images into the chamber. Human anatomy, alien anatomy, environmental data, combat analysis. You are correct, she began. Humans are inferior in almost every physical category. We have no natural armor, no venom, no claws or fangs worth mentioning. Our bones break easily, our skin tears. We require constant food and water. We die in extreme temperatures. She paused, letting the words sink in. But you made one critical error in your assessment. You assumed physical superiority equals combat superiority. It does not. She showed footage from the trials. Rock warriors overheating in their armor. Assassins being outmaneuvered. Krell trapped in confined spaces. Every species in this galaxy evolved to fill a specific niche. The Rock evolved for strength. The assassins for stealth. The Krell for aquatic dominance. You are all specialists. Perfect for your environments. Dominant in your elements. Another image appeared. Earth. In all its violent, hostile glory. Humans evolved on a planet that tried very hard to kill us, ice ages. Volcanic winters, droughts, floods. Predators that were faster, stronger, and better armed than us. We had no niche. We had no specialty. So we learned to adapt to everything. She zoomed in on different environments. Humans live in deserts where temperatures reach 50 degrees. We live in Arctic regions at -40 degrees. We live at high altitudes where oxygen is scarce. We live in tropical humidity. We live in dry plains. We are the only species that can operate in such diverse environments without major biological changes. Interesting, Veltar said slowly, but adaptation to environment does not explain your combat success. It does, Taemin said, speaking for the first time. Because combat is about adaptation. You wanted to know our secret? It is simple. We are very, very good at not dying. He stepped forward and the chamber quieted. Let me tell you what it means to be human. We break easily, so we learned medicine. We have no armor, so we invented it. We have no venom, so we created it. We are weak, so we became smart. Every disadvantage you mocked us for, we turned into an advantage. He pointed at the footage of the trials. You saw weakness. We saw opportunity. The Hrok are strong, but overheat, so we made them fight in heat until their strength became weakness. The assassins rely on quick kills, so we survived their venom and kept fighting. The Krell are powerful in water, so we fought them on land. Tactics, Rock rumbled. Any species can use tactics. No, Taemin said coldly. Most species use tactics that play to their strengths. We use tactics that exploit enemy weaknesses. Because we have always been weak. We have always been prey. So we learned to think like prey and strike like predators. Jiwoo brought up another image. A human skeleton with healed fractures visible in the bones. This is a human who broke their leg. The bone healed. Became stronger at the break point. Now look at this. She showed a Hrok carapace with a crack. This is a Hrok whose armor was damaged. It never fully heals. Once broken, always weakened. Humans are built to break and repair, she continued. Our bodies heal from almost anything given enough time. Broken bones, torn muscles, damaged organs. We even regrow skin over wounds. Your bodies are tougher initially, but ours are more resilient long term. Veltar leaned forward. You are saying humans are difficult to kill. We are saying humans refuse to die, Taemin corrected. There is a difference. Difficult to kill is passive. Refusing to die is active. It is a choice. He began walking slowly around the platform as he spoke. Every eye in the chamber followed him. Every human in this room descended from survivors. Our ancestors survived predators that should have eaten them, survived diseases that should have killed them, survived environmental disasters that should have destroyed them. We exist because our ancestors simply refused to stop trying. He stopped and looked up at the council. You evolved in worlds that were relatively kind, stable climates, abundant food, natural advantages that made you apex predators. You never learned what desperation feels like, what it means to fight when you have no chance of winning, what it means to choose between dying and doing the impossible. Are you saying we are soft? Hrok demanded, anger rising in his voice. No, Taemin said. I am saying you were never forced to become what we became. You never needed to be desperate because you were always strong enough. Humanity was never strong enough, so we learned to be stubborn instead. Haewon stepped forward. May I speak? Veltar nodded. I studied your combat psychology for weeks, Haewon said. Every species here fights with confidence. You believe you will win because you have natural advantages, but humans have no natural advantages, so we fight with something else, fear. The word hung in the air. Not fear of the enemy, she continued. Fear of failure, of death, of losing everything. That fear makes us sharper, faster, smarter. When humans are cornered, our bodies release chemicals that temporarily increase our strength, speed, and pain tolerance. We call it adrenaline. It is evolution's way of giving us one last chance to survive. All species have stress responses, Veltar said. Not like ours, Jiwoo replied. Human stress response can allow someone to lift objects many times their normal capacity, to run at speeds their body cannot normally sustain, to ignore injuries that would incapacitate others. We become temporarily superhuman when we are desperate enough. She showed medical data. There are documented cases of human mothers lifting vehicles to save their children. Soldiers fighting for hours after receiving wounds that should have killed them instantly. People surviving falls, attacks, and conditions that no other species could endure. Because we are fragile, Taemin added. We break so easily that evolution gave us emergency override systems. The more danger we are in, the stronger we become. Temporarily, at great cost to our bodies afterward. But it keeps us alive. Donghyun stepped forward, his scarred face serious. I fought in the colony wars, saw things that would give you nightmares, saw soldiers with missing limbs continue fighting, saw people survive vacuum exposure long enough to be rescued, saw humans do impossible things because the alternative was dying. He looked at Hrok. Your warriors are brave, but they have never known true desperation. The kind that makes you fight even when your body is broken and your mind is screaming to quit. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question everyone wanted answered. What do humans want from this council? Partnership, Taemin said immediately. Not dominance. Not revenge for your mockery. Partnership. Why? Veltar asked. You have proven you can defeat us. You could demand submission. Because we know what it feels like to be underestimated, Jiwoo said softly. To be dismissed as weak. To be laughed at. We will not do that to others. Taemin nodded. We are fragile. We are weak. We are all the things you said we are. But we are also kind when we could be cruel. We offer mercy when we could demand vengeance. We help enemies who tried to kill us. He gestured to the images of humans treating wounded Hrock and Krell. That is what makes us human. Not just the ability to survive, but the choice to be better than our worst instincts. The chamber was silent. Finally, Hrock spoke. I must ask, during the trials, would you have killed us if we had not surrendered? Taemin's expression went cold. His eyes became distant. We came prepared to do whatever was necessary. Fortunately, you surrendered. That is not an answer, Hrock pressed. It is the only answer I will give, Taemin replied. Humans are capable of great kindness and terrible violence. We choose kindness when possible. Violence when necessary. Be glad you did not make it necessary. Veltar stood. The Galactic Council recognizes humanity's petition for military partnership. You have proven your capability beyond any doubt. He paused. But I must know. Are we making a mistake? Are we inviting a species into our alliance that could destroy us? Taemin looked at each council member in turn. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of millions of years of human history. You are not making a mistake. You are making a choice. The same choice humanity makes every day. The choice between fear and trust. Between isolation and cooperation. Between seeing differences as threats